Alright. Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Doctor Who review, episode number 59. Yeah, it's a bit earlier, basically on Monday, we record this because I got off work early today because we were slow and we had a lot of people coming in. So basically today, I am going to do two Doctor Who reviews today. But first, basically for right now, we're going to do this review, two comic corners, another Doctor Who, two more comic corners, and then Machuca Tensei, and then I may get time. Now, I will make an announcement when I talk about the very next one because it's quite interesting to talk about this because I will talk about this a little bit later. First up, we're talking about Doctor Who Battlefield. This story is the start of season 26 of the show, which is also the final season of the classic Doctor Who. So yeah, final season opener. This one has many final things. This one. Start of the final season of the show. The final appearance of Brigadier in classic Doctor Who. The final appearance of Unit. And there's something interesting though about this. This also is the last time we see the TARDIS interior in classic Doctor Who. Well, the interior itself is not seen again in the Doctor Who movie, which came out in 1996. 7 years later. Yep. By the way, this was released from the period of September 6th to September 27th, 1989. And unlike Seven Nemesis, I was three-parter. This is a four-parter. Really? Yeah. This does happen occasionally. I've seen this where some of the ones basically are four-parters. Now, in the case of the first season of the show, Sylvester McCoy's run, the first three stories are in fact four parts. First two are four parts. The second two are three. And in the case of the 25th season of the show, the opening story was definitely four parts. Yes, only the second story was three parts. In the case of the final season of the show, just this one, there's only two out of four are four parts. Yeah, these run for like really quick. So, in this story, we start off with seeing the Brigadier. First time we've seen him since the Five Doctors. And of course, you can see that. Here's the thing: it had been 5 years since at this point in 5 or 6 years at this point in time when this episode aired, and he has aged. Yes, he's gonna look like he's older. Looks like he has a bit of a gut, but it's older guy. He mentioned about his wife Doris, which apparently, if I read, apparently she was first mentioned back in the final story of John Pertwee's run. So, Unit's active in the story. This is technically, if you think about it. Now, if I read, this is the first active Unit story since Seeds of Death during Tom Baker's run. But technically, they did make one small appearance in Five Doctors. This is the first more proper story featuring him. So, he just retired from teaching. Yes, he's retired from teaching. And he kind of misses basically being a soldier. He retired twice. First from Unit, and then he retires from teaching. How long was teacher for? Well, I think they mentioned in the Maharajan Dead that he was teaching. He began teaching like 1978, so roughly just a few years after the Doctor left. And of course, mentioned the Doctor. And then all of a sudden we see this. And we see the Doctor Ace, where we see briefly the interior where it's dark and it's not really explained in story. Apparently, between the end of the previous story and this one, apparently Atari's interior was destroyed. Yes, well, I did a little research on it. Apparently, the Atari's interior, the set was destroyed by accident. So, that's the reason why we didn't have Atari's interior the rest of the season, because we have this one brief period in the first episode, and we don't see the rest of the episode. We do see the TARDIS. Yeah, the TARDIS is seen, like, after it stopped, put its little stop, basically it shows up one more time after that, where we have the other Brigadier in the story, Brigadier Barbara, which she's been criticized by Doctor Who fans as being just, oh, she's a good fighter, but she's not good at being a leader. Mostly Brigadier Leopard Stewart basically takes command at the stuff like he's retired. Yes, so Doctor and Ace basically, like, they want to get let to go look for this something, and, well, they get a lift from an archaeologist. Yep. So they go to archaeological dig, which apparently he's there for 10 years digging this stuff, like small bits at a time. Apparently, one small area takes a full year. I mean, what did you do? Basically, use a small brush? Yeah, dig something that big and it takes 10 years to dig that stuff? I mean, if you want to dig something, use a frickin' shovel. Not just, oh, tiny bits, tiny bits, tiny bits. And apparently, this much he did in a single year. So, yeah, and apparently, Barbara, she's got a nuclear missile at this particular site. Why the heck they have it there for is never explained in the story. So then, of course, we have these strange meteors show up, which contain knights who use laser guns. And you're thinking, what? Laser guns? Wait, is this the first Doctor story to use this? Technically, no. This is a reused element from Androids of Terra. A Tom Baker story. Okay. It is an element. It's not exactly like a reused plot device. Yeah, apparently they got their own guns. At least their swords on fire lasers. I wish, thank God for that. That would have been silly at this point in time because, well, sadly we're going to at the end of the series. Well, the classic Who, because oh, I also got to mention before I continue. I kind of mentioned before talking about the novelization of this one. Apparently, this was the lowest. Had the lowest viewership of the entire series. This one. And the same thing happened with New Who, where they featured the second time they brought back when they brought back the Zygons in a two-parter during Peter Capaldi's run. Yes, but there was I think it was a Zygon. I think it was like one episode that was like it was like really boring of a story. This I thought was a lot more interesting and did not justify the fact it had low ratings in 1989. Though I could probably think of why in the world people were not watching Doctor Who at this point in time. Well, because 2 years prior to this, we had the start of the awesomeness that is Star Trek Next Generation, which here's a strange coincidence. Did you know when Spencer McCoy started his run, it was the same year Next Generation started, 1987. Yes, seriously. Also, where his first season, he had a completely different companion, which I'll discuss her when I discuss basically was definitely the Tom Baker. Yeah, so they get a lift, they go to the site, and they dig there, and of course they go to a hotel where they stay at. This time they'll show the rooms. All we see at this inn is just this bar area. Yeah, that's it. And by the way, and then we see some fighting. We see some knights, and in this one night with this more clear helmet, who he's fighting air knights, he gets blasted into a brewery via a grenade. Was our friend protecting him? And then of course, basically, he sees the Doctor says, "Merlin." Yes, he thinks the Doctor is Merlin the Magician, as in Merlin from King Arthur. Yes, seriously. There's a lot of King Arthur stuff with this one. Yes. And then we identify the leader of these knights, and it's it's Mordred. Oh yeah, and the mysterious woman we see the whole story? Morgan Le Fay, King Arthur's sister, who in one story, she slept with him. Yes, seriously. There was a story, I think it was Excalibur, which was released back in 1982, where Morgan Le Fay slept with her own brother. Yes, because she really wanted to do it so badly. Well, they weren't full siblings. They were half siblings. Yes, why the heck they decided to do this in that movie, I have no idea. This has been commonly featured in a lot of King Arthur stuff. Oh, and here's a fun fact about this one here. This is June Marsh. This is technically her second Doctor Who story she's appeared in, but did you know she's related to a particular Doctor actor? Yes. Which one? John Pertwee. This is John Pertwee's ex-wife. I don't know if she's related to Sean Pertwee or not. I don't know. I'm not looking about that. In the case of her, this is actually her second appearance ever in Doctor Who. Yeah, her last appearance, she appeared alongside Nicholas Courtney in the Daleks' Master Plan. Yeah, and she was only married apparently to John Pertwee only for about 5 years. And apparently it's the only person she's ever married. While John Pertwee did remarry, and well, at the time of his death, he was married to his second wife for about 36 years. His son Sean, let's see. Okay, so yeah, Sean Pertwee. I should point out though, Jean Marsh is not his mother. Nope, it's the second wife. Dalek Master Plan. One of noteworthy for one particular thing. Several of the stories are missing. Actually, 9 out of the 12 parts are missing. Yeah, Jean Marsh played a character named Sarah Kingdom. Yep. And she appeared just in that one story. And the character appeared again because she died. On screen, anyways. Yeah, she decided to shove herself onto space. Oh, and Nicholas Courtney played her brother. Yes, seriously. So if you think about it, Nicholas Courtney has interacted with several actors who've been the Doctor. The first, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth. He never counted the sixth one until the special. Yeah. So Morgan arrives in this other dimension. And they love fighting per se in this one. And of course they have to stop, do a vigil because they are fighting near a gravesite. Not just any gravesite. A memorial to to basically dead soldiers who were killed in world wars. I'm like, and hold a vigil basically as an apology for fighting. I'm like, wow, that's quite ballsy. I at least got to praise the fact that yeah, they realized they also talk about honor and respect. Like, don't fight near cemeteries, which that's a bad idea. So the Brigadier himself is basically calling to act as the Doctor is about. So Doctor basically meets Barbara, and of course, well, yeah, it turns out that he had passes. We just basically one of the passes is for a former companion of the Doctor's, who has not been mentioned in years at this point in time, a character by the name of Liz Shaw, who last appeared in Doctor Who in Inferno. I will talk about that one eventually. Excuse me. Yeah, so Ace asks him about that, and he doesn't answer. If I would tell her, hey, Liz Shaw basically was an assistant to the Doctor back in the 70s. Yeah, and she was several companions ahead of you, before you. So, and she was 2 generations ago. Actually, it was more like 4, because Joseph McCoy is the 7th Doctor. Like with his science, I'm taken away, and of course we go back to the hotel, and of course we meet up with this Asian girl, whose name is, well, translate as Little Cloud. Yeah, that's according to the Doctor. That's all her name translates. I think she's supposed to be Chinese. I believe so. Su Yang. Yeah, basically these two have interest in explosives. Oh, and the actress who plays her? Let's see. Yeah, she's Chinese. The actress is Chinese, so basically, yeah, they don't really call attention to the fact this character's Asian. It's not really mentioned at all. The archaeologist's name is Peter Wormsley, who only appears just in this story. Yeah, for some reason they appeared over again. Oh yeah, and as mentioned online, apparently this story is set in 1987. If that's the case, why they use 80s cars? Yeah, so the story is set like not 8 years after the story happened. Yeah. Also, the innkeeper who runs in there, his wife is blind. So, eventually Brigham is called into action. He eventually hesitates and he eventually hears the doctor's around. Like, okay, so he puts on his uniform again. First time he's been in uniform since Terror of the Zygons. And he says, oh, I'm happy it still fits. So, then he flies a helicopter, flies for a while. At one point, it looks like it went nighttime, so he flew to London, gets debriefed by bureaucrats, and then flew back. Apparently for him, this is no problem. Despite the fact he's retired at this point for a long time. And then, of course, when he's running a helicopter to the battlefield, and then Morgan Le Fay decided to use her finger beams to shoot down the helicopter. Yes. And she does it like this. Like, it'll like, ah! Yes. Finger beams. Even though it's magic, but yeah, it's finger beams. Shooting down the helicopter, and the pilot's injured, and she pops up once after this, where she's killed by Morgan Le Fay. Yeah. And of course, as she meets, and she's like, what matter warrior are you? Yeah. It is something that Morgan Le Fay doesn't basically just start smooth talking the Brigadier, because these two are basically about the same age at this point in time. Yes. So then, of course, basically where, like, then we blast a hole in the site to get to what's under the lake. And they get inside, like, oh, it's like, they open a door. Apparently, the doctor designed a future incarnation. They get inside, oh, it's King Arthur. Take out the sword. And the sword becomes an object of basically contention of the whole story. So the Brigadier goes down, and then, of course, he frees him. Yes, freeze. He basically just steps on something. He steps on this thing the doctor was carrying, and that apparently shows out the little spider thing kept knocking around Doctor. I'm sure. Oh yeah, and also part of this, when they get the sword out, at one point Sophie Aldred got trapped in this actual tube, and she nearly drowned. Yeah, so what you see on screen for when she's drowning that thing, from what I've heard, that was her legitimately nearly drowning in there. I'm sure the actor herself probably didn't like that very much at all. So, yeah. At some points in the story we see here, now, in a lot of the stories I've seen her in, she's usually wearing a jacket a lot of the time. This one she spends a lot of the time with her jacket off. Like when you first see her in the story, her jacket's off. And a lot of the time, her jacket is like, well, I almost forgot to mention this over Nemesis. There was one point we listened to the music, and you have the Doctor wearing a bandana, you have Ace wearing a doctor's hat. I thought that was kind of funny. I'm sure it's probably, I'm sure probably the two just basically just have a lot of fun. So then, of course, basically we go to see Mordred, where he goes to the bar, has some drinks. Morgan Le Fay shows up after taking care of the pilot. Well, takes care of her. He's like, oh, my son drank a lot. You need payment. So her payment was to restore this lady's eyesight. Yeah. And then we have a bunch of unit stuff show up. Of course, Brigadier orders everybody around, evacuates basically the archaeologist, the innkeeper, and of course Doc uses hypnotism to basically get them to leave. And they're written out of the story, never seen again. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I look at the line, these characters never appear ever again. Low Cloud herself basically does not appear again either. Now I have expanded material, which is strange, to say the least. Yes. So, yeah, then of course basically like, okay, so what's Morgan's plan? Of course, at one point she summons a destroyer to get the Excalibur from Ace, who's entrapped in her circle. They start insulting her. I have heard also that the release of episode 3 where she's doing this, and it's basically just using racism. Yeah, there was a warning about that, and I'm not sure if Sophie Aldred was comfortable with dialogue at all, given the actress she was working with. I don't know because I didn't listen to the commentary for this one. I probably will eventually. I really enjoy listening to commentary, but Doctor Who, I really want to. I probably will do it soon. Yep. So basically, like, what else? So at one point we have 7 points in the story. We actually have where, oh, by the way, when Barbara meets up with what's his name here? I guess A. Anselin. Yes, Anselin. Where she kept calling Barbara my lady. At one point she didn't like it very much. Yeah. And of course the flirtation between these two is so obvious. And she asked him this, are you married? He doesn't answer, but yeah, no, he's not married. Yeah, then of course, basically at one point, then later in the story, we have Mordred just activates a nuclear missile. Yes, Morgan Le Fay, a sorcerer, activating a piece of technology to blow up the area. Of course, Doctor, when they activate the whole ship again, it turns out that Arthur is dead. He has been dead for 1,000 years. And then, and of course also, you have Mordred fighting Aslan, who she refers to Barbarius as beloved. And then, of course, she gets up and she hugs him. And she probably heard, she probably thinking, did you really call me your beloved? I'm sure she probably gave him a smooch afterwards. Of course, the Doctor, the brigade is bringing the pack about Doris to the Doctor. Who's Doris? My wife. Okay. Of course, the ship is destroyed. Morgan Le Fay surrenders after the missile is disabled. And of course, Barbera is like, when you're ready, lock him up and his mother too. Oh, by the way, all their soldiers are killed off in the story. A lot of it apparently is done off screen, which that's interesting. Oh, by the way, how was the story killed? Silver bullets. There's actually so they mentioned that the unit's been active. They made golden bullets. They made RPS arms for Daleks, but stuff for Yetis. They mentioned stuff for the Cybermen, golden bullets, and they mentioned, what about silver bullets? And that comes to play. And of course, Doctor's going to do it, but nope. And of course, Brigadier just knocks him out, says, I'm more expendable than you are. And he shoots it, and here's what I heard. Apparently the plan was to kill out the Brigadier, and Nicholas Courtney apparently was open to it, but the director decided to change his mind, and he got cold feet, and he survived. And after the whole deal is wrapped up, everyone goes back to the Brigadier's house, oh, nice, and we have Dr. Benji, asshole, just basically just put his hands with just all the beautiful guard, and the doc, and of course, he has to bring it out of his uniform. And then, oh, by the way, almost forgot to mention this. At one point in the story, he returned a Bessie for the first time since Robot. Well, technically appeared in 5 Doctors, but a more proper appearance of this thing. And they drive it around the whole store, which is so fun to see Bessie. And license plate says Who 7. Originally it appeared back in the 70s, it said Who 1. Now we have Who 7. And apparently that the Brigadier put in mothballs. And it still works after all this time. Cool. Yep. And then of course you have Ace, Barbera, Little Cloud, and Doris going out shopping. So, and of course, you have Alistair the Brigadier what about dinner? And of course, it's asked do you know how to operate a lawnmower? You ask it a knight how to operate a freaking lawnmower. I thought it was so funny. The Doctor's I'll make supper. I'm wow, what a very funny way to end the story. And this is one of those rare occasions where we don't have the story ending with them going back in hers and go off whatever. And I really kind of enjoy that. And I tried to look it up. Is there a story that picks up where this left off? Not that I can tell. I mean, I would love to find out exactly what happened next. Because that would be interesting to hear a knight basically just Just mowing a lawn. It's so funny. Yeah, like I tend to think though, like I try to look it up and see if like because normally they have like books basically show what happened next between this story and the next one. They don't show. I'm not seeing much of anything because the next story is Ghostlight. Yeah, but I haven't really found much anything. What could have been the story between this one and Ghostlight, which will be the next one. But yeah, this one was a lot of fun. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I just want a 10 out of 10. I never felt this special effects that bad, especially for late 80s. Looks really good. Okay, so that's episode review. Next, I got two comic corners, and then watch another Doctor one. Okay, next video. Bye.